Ilara had always been drawn to the stars, the celestial bodies that painted the night sky above Celestra, a city built high in the mountains where the people revered the heavens. From a young age, she had been fascinated by the ancient belief that the stars controlled the destinies of the people below, guiding their fates and predicting the future through celestial alignments. As a child, she spent nights in the quiet of her small observatory, gazing at the stars through her telescope, mapping constellations, and reading the texts her mentor, Master Arian, had entrusted to her. He was a man of wisdom, a revered astronomer who had devoted his life to studying the cosmos, and under his tutelage, Ilara had flourished into a brilliant young scholar, respected by the academic circles of Celestra. But there was one event that always captivated her more than any other, one that the ancient texts spoke of with both reverence and fear: the Last Eclipse, a celestial event said to occur once in an era, when the sun and moon would align in a way that would bring about the end of the world as it was known, ushering in an age of rebirth or destruction, depending on the interpretation. The prophecy was vague, filled with cryptic warnings, and no one truly understood what the eclipse would mean. Some believed it was the dawn of a new era of peace and enlightenment, while others feared it would lead to calamity and chaos. As the years went on, and the eclipse drew nearer, tensions began to rise in Celestra. The city was not just a hub of astronomical study, it was a place where political power and influence were deeply intertwined with the movements of the stars. The ruling families, each with their own interpretations of the prophecy, began to vie for control over the city's future. Whispers of rebellion spread through the streets, and people began to look to the skies for signs that might confirm their fears or hopes. Ilara, for her part, remained focused on her studies, determined to uncover the true meaning of the prophecy before the eclipse arrived. Yet, as much as she tried to remain detached from the growing unrest, she could not ignore the mounting sense of unease that seemed to hang in the air, like a storm cloud gathering on the horizon. Then, one evening, as Ilara stood on the observation tower overlooking the city, her mentor approached her with grave news. "Ilara," Master Arian said, his voice heavy with concern, "I've discovered something in the ancient texts. Something I believe you need to see." He handed her an old, leather-bound book, its pages yellowed with age. As Ilara flipped through the pages, her eyes widened in shock. There, in the faded script, was a passage she had never seen before, an obscure detail about the last eclipse. It spoke of a chosen one, someone who would play a pivotal role in determining whether the world would be reborn or brought to ruin. The prophecy hinted that this person would be connected to the stars in a way no one had understood before, that they would have the power to shape the course of the eclipse itself. But the passage was cryptic, and the identity of the chosen one was unclear. Was it Ilara? Or was she merely another pawn in a game much larger than herself? Master Arian, sensing her confusion, offered a somber explanation. The text suggests that the chosen one will not come from the ranks of royalty or the ruling classes. It's someone who understands the stars, someone like you. Ilara felt a chill run down her spine. The weight of the prophecy seemed to settle over her like a cloak she could not remove. "But why me?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm just an astronomer. I've spent my life studying the stars." "Not, that's precisely why," Master Arian interrupted. "The stars do not lie, Ilara. You have always felt a deeper connection to them than anyone else. You're the one who will understand what is about to happen." With those words, the world around her seemed to shift. What had once been a calm and steady pursuit of knowledge had now become something much more urgent, more dangerous. The prophecy was not just an academic puzzle, it was a force that could change everything, and Ilara was at the center of it. As the days passed and the eclipse drew closer, Ilara could no longer ignore the signs. People in the city began to act strangely. Factions formed, each convinced that they alone had the key to surviving the coming disaster. The ruling families began to militarize, preparing for what they feared might be an uprising, while common folk whispered of a savior who would emerge from the ashes. Ilara, torn between her desire to understand the truth and her fear of what it might mean, found herself on a journey she had never anticipated. With Master Arian's guidance, she set out to find the lost Temple of the Stars, a fabled site believed to hold the final pieces of the prophecy. The journey was perilous, taking her through treacherous mountain passes and dark forests, where rumors of bandits and rebels echoed in the distance. Along the way, she gathered a small group of companions, each with their own reasons for joining her. There was Kalen, a former soldier turned mercenary who sought redemption for past mistakes, Mira, a healer who believed the eclipse might bring both destruction and healing to the world, and Jarin, a thief who had been hired to follow Ilara but had developed his own curiosity about the prophecy. Together, they faced dangers that tested their resolve. The journey was not just physical, it was an emotional trial, one that forced each of them to confront their past and their fears. As they reached the temple, hidden deep within the mountains, Ilara realized that the true meaning of the prophecy was not something she could simply uncover in a dusty old tome. It was something that had to be felt, understood in the depths of her soul. The temple was not a place of answers but a place of choices. In its ancient halls, they found the final writings of the prophecy, an inscription carved into the stone that seemed to speak directly to Ilara. The chosen one will face the darkness within and choose whether to embrace the light or let the world fall into shadow. As the eclipse began, Ilara stood at the temple's altar, the moon casting its shadow across the land. The world held its breath, and for a moment, Ilara felt the weight of the universe pressing down on her. She could hear the cries of the city, the whispers of those who feared the end, but in that moment, she understood what she had to do. The prophecy had never been about power or fate, it was about choice. The eclipse was not a force of destruction, but a moment of transformation. She reached out, letting the light of the moon wash over her, and in that instant, she made her decision. The world did not end, nor was it reborn. Instead, it shifted, slowly, as the stars realigned themselves. The people of Celestra awoke to a new dawn, one where the past was no longer a prison, and the future was not bound by prophecy. Ilara returned to her studies, no longer burdened by the weight of the stars but empowered by her ability to choose her own path. And as she looked up at the sky, she realized that the stars were not just guides, they were companions on a journey that was hers alone to make.